All right, welcome into the Fit Parent Podcast. I am Jeff. This is Amy,
Hello.
and she is rocking her iced coffee or whatever it
It's
is.
a protein chai
In a mason
in a
jar.
mason
Like,
jar.
that's like the most like granola, like
I know.
through
With a
like a silicone,
reusable
like a silicone
straw.
straw, just like.
And I got these women-owned company lids that fit onto largemouth mason jars that make them into sippy cups. It's really nice.
You just
Sippy
need,
cups. Oh
yeah.
God.
You just need like a weighted vest and
It's downstairs, but it's a slightly darker
and
blue. So I didn't
and
want to. It
didn't
would
want to
have
not
clashed.
match.
Yeah, it would have clashed
Yeah,
with the ensemble.
and like a Lululemon crossbody satchel thing, and you're
I
a whole
don't have
vibe right
one.
there.
I don't have one of those, but do you know who does? Do you know who just got one as a part of her back to school shopping with Grammy? My 11-year-old.
Did M really? She got Lululemon.
I'm like, I own one piece of Lululemon that I actually just gave to her because it's not a size that fits over these guns anymore.
Yeah.
So I passed it down to her. I was like, oh no, and I have a second piece that I found in a Goodwill bag of a friend. So I took that. So I own no pieces of Lululemon that have been purchased with money. I'll just say
Goodness.
that. But she does, and she looks real cute in it.
I got a Lululemon gift card
Mm.
for Christmas one time, and it was $100 gift card, and I literally couldn't buy a single thing.
Can't buy a thing. Yeah, you have to
I
go
was
there
like,
with another $100.
I still have to fork out money to be able to buy one. Like, I could have bought a T-shirt, is what I could have bought. I was like,
on the sale rack.
This is ridiculous.
Yeah,
I was like, I cannot.
I mean, they're good quality, but so is Target leggings.
I mean, I've had this T-shirt that I'm wearing now for 9 years, and it was $7.
Well, the neckline does explain you've had it for 9 years.
It's a V-neck. It's supposed to be that way, you jerk. Now the holes at the bottom would explain that I've had it for 7 years. The V-neck is on purpose. That was I'm in shambles over here.
I think we both are. I'm just so tired. I'm so tired, Jeff.
So we were talking about what we were gonna talk about today before we hit record, and a couple of ideas. And I'm gonna tell you what we're gonna talk about, and then I'm gonna tell you why we're gonna talk about it. I'm gonna say the unfiltered version of it that might get you a little. I don't like the word trigger, but it might like hit a couple of you a little wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But then I have 40 minutes to explain what I'm talking about. 50 minutes to explain what. It's your fault.
What else
is your
my fault, Jeff?
The problem with your fitness and your nutrition is the person in the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
That's the piece of it. And so this is going to sound a little not odd coming from me, but like this isn't my typical angle that I'm going to take on it.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, I'm not going to go counter to the episode 4 or 5 episodes ago where I said we've weaponized discipline and we've weaponized willpower.
Mm-hmm.
And I said trying harder is not a strategy and discipline is not a plan. Like I don't back away from that at all. That you're not going to just like, okay, it's your fault, buckle up, like just do better. Mm-hmm. Would you? Like, you don't get blood on my uniform. Like there isn't that, right? That's not the vibe, but I want to make sure that we're very clear on a couple of things.
Okay.
We are not the victim.
Mm-hmm.
We are not. Like in a lot of ways we are. Like I'm not saying that you cannot be a victim in certain circumstances, but when we play the victim card and we have a victim mentality that it's all of these circumstances, then we are doomed to stay there. It is the 16-year-old who's looking at the median. Like if we focus on it, that's where we're going to go. And the reason why I bring this up is Amy was talking about it beforehand, and I will own it for me as well. I have been struggling.
Mm-hmm.
As a fitness coach who does this for a living, I have been struggling to be consistent. I've talked about this for a little bit. Like I've been struggling for well over a year to be as consistent as I want to with my training, but it doesn't mean that I haven't had, times of, but like the last couple of weeks have been really difficult where I've even had opportunities And I will say, I'm going to say this, all of this is coming from the place. If you want to listen to an episode, I called it the one from the mess.
Mm-hmm.
Go back. It's like it's in the 50s, I think 50s or 60s, the one from the mess. And honestly, it's one of my favorite episodes that I ever did. But the idea of this is I'm on this podcast and I'm coaching, not because I have it figured out, not because I'm better, not because of anything other than I've figured a few things out,
Mm-hmm.
but I have a lot of things that I haven't. It's one of the things about coaching other coaches on their businesses is that I have fitness coaches who are like, I don't understand why my clients can't stay consistent with their workouts. And I'm like, all right, your goal is to post 3 times a week on your social media. And they're like, man, it's so,
Too much. Yeah.
and I'm like, it's so busy. And and it's like, it's the same thing. Like, we are the same people. That's
Mm-hmm.
been my kind of take for as being a parent. Like, human nature is human nature. Like, we are our children, just with maybe a little bit of a different sensor, but not dramatically different.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, my kid yells when he gets frustrated. I yell when I want to yell into a pillow. He just yells at his brother. But like, it's there. Like, all of those feelings are normal and different. And I am not in any way, shape, or form better or more advanced or anything like that. I've just had some success in certain areas, but that does not mean that I am without fault or struggle. And I don't think that needs to be said here, but I want to make sure that when I come from the place of like, hey, it's your fault, I'm pointing the finger at myself.
All right. It's kind of refreshing to hear a little bit.
How do you mean?
I always look to coaches as the ones who do have it all figured out. But it's kind of refreshing to hear that you're just like us. This is your first time on the planet too. Figuring it out.
This is my first time being a person.
Mm-hmm.
This is my first time being a dad. I literally run 2 businesses, and my wife runs a third. And in the last 4 weeks, she didn't go back to school for the first time in 30 years.
Yeah, it's been a trip seeing her at the gym on the mornings. It's been wonderful for me.
Her to go to the gym, and
Mm-hmm.
she's figuring out what that looks like, and her busy schedule with the fall,
Yeah.
and our son is starting kindergarten, and
Yeah.
I'm picking. I now whereas for the last 5 years, over 5 years, I have played the role of primary caregiver to the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And we had either Megan was not necessarily total breadwinner, but she was oftentimes like a little bit like 50 or 60% of our income at times, to 50-50 or whatever it is. But I caught more of the stuff. Now it's like Jeff's running the show
Mm-hmm.
here. And Megan is growing her photography business, but like it was never going to be the expectation that she was going to leave teaching and replace her teaching income with photography. Certainly not right from the jump, because in order to build a photography business to the level that you would need to, you need to be able to work on it. You need an
Yeah, you have
off
time.
season to
Mm-hmm.
do marketing and stuff like that. And she has not yet had an off season to do marketing. Like, and she keeps being like, I wonder how next year's going to go. And I'm like, you haven't booked like next year yet. Like, you'll get some of next year now, but like that's December, January, February, where you've never had like 3 days a week where all your job is to go out and find people to book you for weddings. Like, that's your only job for 4 or 5 months,
Mm-hmm.
is marketing. You've
And
never had
that's
that
intimidating too.
It is. And so all of that is overwhelming, and all of these kinds of things. And it's my first time doing all of this. And at the same time, we talked about on the episode 2 or 3 ago, the one about the myth of willpower, where we talked about like it's about setting yourself up for success. And at the same time, you can be well set up for success and still struggle to do the thing. So this has been my experience as a coach, right? Where I will have people who will come in who think that because they hired me and paid money to hire me, that now it's done. That's not done, right? Like we can together come up with the scenario within which you can be successful. We can try to set up your systems for you to be successful. But at the end of the day, you have to choose to live within them. So I will own this for me from the start. Yesterday morning or Sunday night. So this is the first 5-day school week of the calendar year as we record this. This is the first 5-day school week. We had 2 kind of partial weird weeks, which were going to be weird anyway, but they were also odd because it's our first time figuring out drop off and pick up and all of this, and Megan's not in school, and like so many moving parts. So it was just like, let's just close our eyes and say a prayer and like have at least a rough draft template of what we're going to do for drop-offs and pickups, but know that we're going to hold this very loosely. And there's a lesson there in a minute. Make sure that I come back to that. But then Sunday, we're like, okay, 2 weeks in, what do we notice? Like what's going well? What's not going well? Like let's make some changes going into this week. What do you want to do? And again, I'll come back to that in a minute, but I want to make sure I hit the point that I'm talking about here. One of the things that we set up was Monday morning, because I said, hey, I want to be able to try to work. I want to get a consistent workout schedule because I just haven't been able to have one. I was like, hey, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'd love to, I'll wake up early because our kids wake up at the butt crack of dawn. Like 5:30 is like
sleeping in.
Average. Yeah. Like not sleeping in, but like if they make it past 5:40, if our oldest makes it past 5:45, he slept in. He's usually somewhere between 5:20 and 5:45. And so it was like, I'll wake up because I'm more of a morning person anyway. I was like, I'll wake up, I'll have my breakfast and I'll get them situated. I'll wake the kids up. I'll get them all situated. And then at 6:30, if you come down, I can just run downstairs. I'll do a workout and then I'll come back up and I'll drop the kids off at 7:30. Like that was the tentative plan. And we were like, hey, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Cool. Love it. Yesterday morning, Megan comes down at 6:30 and she's like, okay, time. Like it was as set up as could be. And I did not work out.
Why, Hefe?
So I'll tell you the circumstances under which I did not work out. But I literally just opted out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And the excuse that I gave, there's excuses and there's reasons, right? The excuse that I gave is like, I'm not up for it right now. And there's a couple reasons why I wasn't up for it. And again, these are reasons, these aren't excuses. I've been a little bit depleted, and Megan and I have chatted about this because of, again, the clunkiness of the transition into fall, along with her couple of weddings the last couple of weekends and delivering some galleries and things like that. Like I have gotten more 1-on-3 time with the kids, particularly through bedtimes in the last 2 weeks than would probably be normal, or even like that's a higher volume. It was like an extra high volume sort of situation.
And for folks who don't do bedtime can be really beautiful, but it can also be very draining.
Yes. And it's and it was like long days, like when she does a wedding, like it's all day, and night. And I generally don't go to sleep until she's home. Like I just don't, it's like it's a safety thing.
Very romantic.
I don't feel good about it. Like I'll like, full disclosure, if you were like, what's Jeff's worst fear, is like my wife is gonna like get in a car accident or something like that. Like
it's a lot of spouses' worst fears. It's like we go to that worst case scenario.
That for me is, I'm like, it's a car accident, like super specifically.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, so sometimes it's like, it's 10:30, 11 o'clock at night by the time she gets back from a wedding sometimes. And so I'm up late, and then she's like pretty well fried. So then I wake up the next morning with the kids because she worked the wedding all day. And so then it just kind of, it spirals. And so it's just there, and I'm just kind of depleted. So that was the last weekend. And so I was just I was coming into the week because, and again, the last weekend would have been like this past weekend, 2 days ago, would have been okay had I not been in a deficit from Labor Day weekend and what last week looked like. Like the back half of the week before Labor Day weekend, and last week, like that 10-day stretch was a lot. And
Mm-hmm.
so I was just kind of coming into it like I have not a lot of energy right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was a situation where I said it this way. I articulated it this way yesterday. In counseling, by the way. I
Good
don't
for
know if I
you.
yeah, I've been going to counseling. It's been great.
Proud of you.
Um yeah. I've done it before. I'm a big believer that everybody should do it, and I just hadn't done it in a while, and I was like, I really could use a place to just like unload, but I'm going to actually come back to that in a minute because I
Mm-hmm.
think that this is
This is the third thing you're going to come back to. Are you keeping
yes.
track?
Are you keeping track? You're the one with the post-it notes. I'm not keeping track.
Shame.
So the idea is you don't remember what they are. It's
No, I
fine.
do not.
That was a Megan look, by the way. That's exactly the look that my wife makes. The little sheepish, like I don't have it. I'll get it. So I was chatting about it, which was I had like the bandwidth for one thing yesterday morning, and it was going to be like the bandwidth, like if that's where I was at, like my fuse was short, I didn't have a lot left, and it was going to be I'm going to get myself up to work out. And I was like excited about it. I had a new program. I was like ready to rock and roll. And like 6:23, like again, Megan's coming down in 7 minutes. At 6:23, the boys start fighting with each other, which is not atypical. Like
No.
the boys fight with each other all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But again, my tolerance for this is like, I'm like, I have been breaking up you guys' fights for 10 days.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, it's like dumb stuff. And again, what they
You're
did,
3 and 5. Of course, it's
yeah,
dumb.
what they did not merit, whatever. But I was just like, I'm so frustrated. And it was like in the 30 seconds that I'm trying to get my daughter dressed. So Megan comes down and I'm like, I'm just like, so, I'm like breaking it up, and she comes down and she's like, okay, you're good to go. And I'm like, I'm just like dejected, right? It was like a dejected feeling of like, am I failing as a dad? Like, why can't I figure this out? Like my response wasn't off. Like I didn't yell at anybody, but like my response wasn't as good as it could have been because again, reason, not an excuse, but like my response was more than the situation
Warranted.
warranted.
Yeah.
And so I'm like kicking myself for that and feeling guilty about that and all that kind of stuff. And I'm just like, I'm sitting in I went into the laundry room to grab a pair of clothes out. And I was just like near tears. And I was like,
just that tired and frustrated.
Like that tired. I'm like, I don't even know what I would cry about. You know what I mean? Like there's a story that Tom Holland talks about with like how he gets himself to cry. The guy who played Spider-Man is he'll like repeat the same line over and over to himself. Like in Infinity War. Did you ever watch Avengers Infinity War? I know you did. Right?
I have
but
watched all of them, and I have watched them in story chronological order, not release date chronological order, so that the storyline makes sense.
There you go. I love it.
They're just so good.
So when he gets dusted in Infinity War, he's like, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I don't want to go.
It's so sad.
And he like that's his thing. And like I heard him say that, I was like, it's what I used to do as a kid, and it's still what I do as a grown up. Like when I used to cry, I would end up repeating the same thing over and over again because it would like almost make me more sad. And I was like, I just need to cry. And I was just like, I just didn't mean to. I didn't mean to. I didn't want to. I didn't do it on purpose. Like, and I would just like do it. And I'm like, I don't even know what I would say right now. Like, I'm like, I want to cry, but I can't even like, I can't articulate what it is that I'm like upset about. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm just so fried. And so then I was like, okay, like, I gave myself I was like, I don't have it in me to go do this. So I was like, then I'm going to go walk.
Walking is good, I think.
Well, so then I tried to go get myself to walk, but on the way down to walking, I'm like doing a couple of things, and then I'm like, I look at my watch, and I'm like, at this point, I was like, I don't have enough time because I like wallowed in my self-pity there for 5 or 10 minutes, and then I did the kids' lunches. As again, I was like trying to like do something to see if I could like get myself back up. And so at that point I just went and I took a shower. Like that was what I had the bandwidth for. It was like, all right, I'm going to go take a shower and try to start my day. But the idea of it is I was set up, right? We talk about a fish in water. Like I had the environment within which I could be successful. I had an hour of like my wife came down. We agreed on it. We talked about it. She came down. It was there. And kids are going to kid. Like they're, and I didn't keep the promise that I made to myself. Like we talked about in the,
Yeah.
like I didn't keep the promise that I made to myself within the environment.
And it wasn't about willpower, and it wasn't about discipline. It was giving yourself a little grace.
No, but like I didn't do multiple things that would have made me feel better. So that's where we come back to is I didn't do the thing that I know would have helped, right? In that moment, I felt an overwhelming sense of no energy and lack of control.
Mm-hmm.
What things would have helped me have a little bit more energy and feel a sense of control? Like moving my body and doing something in my own strength. Like those things would have helped. And I opted out of them. And so the question that we want to come back to is why? Like, why did I do that? Why did I not do that? Because again, I can't blame my kids for that decision.
Yeah, that wasn't their choice.
So this is what I was talking about when I was saying, hey, I'm going to come back to counseling, which is when I go, and this is a really interesting, it's been interesting as I've gone into it, because when I did it before, I was in my early 20s and it was a different time, right? But I'm like, I do this now to some degree. Like coaching, it's not therapy, it's not counseling, but like I listen and I ask questions and I kind of direct and I try to help people make sense of their situations. And so I know intellectually a lot of the things. And so I went into it and I was like, here's the thing that I don't want to do. I don't want to abdicate responsibility. Like I'm going to come in and I'm going to say the things unfiltered that I feel like I need to say. But at the end of the day, I'm not here looking for validation on what anybody else, like that my situation is hard or what anybody else is or isn't doing. That's not what I'm looking for, because I have no control over what anybody else does. I want to look for how I could have approached the situation differently for me, because it's on me. Like it was my choice to not do it. It wasn't that my kids were being kids. Like that's my circumstance. Like that's my environment. But like Megan did exactly what I asked her to do.
Mm-hmm.
I had the space, and I kind of have to know my kids are going to kid. Like the idea that I'm going to make it. And so I was like thinking about it. I'm like, okay, what are the things? There's two things that we want to look at. It's like, okay, why did I opt out of it? And also, is that a systems issue? Is it something that can be solved with systems, or is that something that needs to be solved with identity?
Explain that for me.
So systems, I think a potential systems issue is like, maybe I need to find a time to work out before I even interact with the kids.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a potential systems solution, which is like, I want to not have there be circumstances that could derail me if I see this happening again. So we're going to see how tomorrow, like I'm going to go through it this week. We're going to see how tomorrow goes with the same circumstances, but it might be like, okay, I need to figure out a different way to do this that is not impacted by the kids, or at least doesn't have the option to be, or whatever. The identity issue, because it could be that and it could be the other thing. The identity issue is, why didn't I keep the promises I made to myself? Is this because that's in alignment with who I'm trying to become? The promises I make to myself are about who it is that I'm trying to become. That's Jeff 2.0. That's Amy 2.0. It's you 2.0. And what would that person do in this circumstance? The person I'm trying to become, the identity I'm looking to have and wear and put on, that guy in that moment would have, one, handled the situation with the boys differently than he did, right? That Jeff, that version of Jeff as the dad would have handled the situation differently. And again, I'm not going to live up to that standard 100% of the time, but why am I not doing it in that moment? And that Jeff would have also still worked out despite his feelings. But I let my feelings dictate what I did as opposed to the other way around. So I need to ask, is this actually the identity that I'm trying to become? And what do I stand to gain from putting on that identity? What is the driver for me to want to do that? Because it can't just be, oh, it's what I think I ought to do. What do I stand to gain? What does my family stand to gain from doing it? In the short term, yesterday probably would have impacted how I showed up for work. Because what ended up happening was, all right, I went up and I showered and I dropped all the kids off, and then I came back and I tried to do something for work, and instead of it taking me the 10 or 15 minutes that it was supposed to take me, it took me 2 hours.
You just weren't
And
in the right headspace.
so then I'm behind on everything else. And I'm getting frustrated because it's not taken, right? It's taken way more time than it should. And so that impacts other things. And so short term, that was what I stood to gain. Long term, what I stand to gain is a whole heck of a lot. Like, why is it that I prioritize taking care of my physical body and exercising and all of this kind of stuff? There's a lot of reasons why. And so if I stand to gain that, I traded my temporary comfort for long-term and even medium-term benefit. And the question is why? I am not yet aligned with that identity of who I'm trying to become. But again, we come back to the thing that I talked about a while before, which is like your actions define who you are, right? Like we don't just like put on the identity and therefore I do these things. So it's both and. I need to come back to the problem with my fitness is that the guy in the mirror is not keeping the promises he made to himself based on the identity that he says that he wants. So then why, if I said that I wanted it and I'm not willing to do it, where's the disconnect? Where is the disconnect? Why am I not doing the things that I ought to do? And why am I not doing the things that I know I ought to do? And so we always want to, and that's the tension of human nature, right? That's the tension of human nature that we talked about. Like we will default to what is easy, comfortable, convenient, and feels good at the time. Like that is our default mode. We are right in front of us. That's how we make our decisions. So we want to come back to, all right, let me try to solve this with systems. Let me try to figure out some systems, but I also need to go back to the source of where was this problem originated from? Like what was the leading indicator of this problem? And it wasn't the boys having the argument at 6:20.
100% was not.
That battle was lost the day before, 2 days before, or the week before. And so there's a couple things that we want to do. When it comes to systems, so this is what I said I wanted to come back to with like, hey, us having this little bit of a meeting sort of situation, was we went into the first couple weeks understanding it was going to be a dumpster fire because it was unknown.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea that we're going to go in without any sort of an idea of what's going to happen and we're just going to figure it out along the way is silly, right? So we went in with a plan that was like, we're going to try this with the full expectation it's not going to go seamlessly. So one, that was expectations drive perception, perception drives reality. Like we expected it to be a little bit clunky. So when it was clunky, we weren't as frustrated as we might have been, right? That doesn't mean that it wasn't frustrating, but like we learned pretty quickly.
Anticipated frustration. You knew that it was going to come.
100%.
So you deal with it differently.
For instance, our plan was for Levi to be a car rider.
Mm-hmm.
I can't stand the car ride.
No. Oh, God. It's
terrible. It's not even like it's that much slower. It's not like it's that much slower, but it's just like, it's like, this is my logic when I'm driving. I would rather go the longer way and not have to stop a bunch than go the shorter way and do stop and go.
Mhm.
I want to feel productive. And
Yeah.
there's a psychological benefit to the momentum of that. Like, this is the debt snowball and the success
Mhm.
snowball, where it's like, hey, I don't care that this is actually the shortest way. I'm going to go the way that I,
You're actively moving forward
yeah.
more often. When I come home from work in at UNH, I go through Greenland. So I leave, I'm passing through Portsmouth, where I live. I get off the highway, go to Greenland, which is the next town over, just to loop back to avoid
Having to go through
Portsmouth.
downtown.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I could totally get that. I would
I think
totally
it adds
understand that.
like a minute, if
But
that.
it
It
feels
oh my
so
god.
much more productive.
It's substantially longer distance wise, almost the same time, but you're moving. You're
It's the
moving
idea
forward.
of when I used to drive to Goffstown
Yeah.
to work, I used to, at the very first opportunity, I used
Mhm.
to like take a left and go
Mhm.
back roads
Mhm.
to get there, because I was like, if I went the other, if I went the quickest way, I would, there's 6 lights
Mhm.
between me and there, plus a roundabout and traffic. And I'm like, if
Mhm.
I go that way, I'll kill somebody.
Mhm.
Like, I'll just be mad at everybody. I'm like,
Yep. It's not
get
worth
out
it.
of the way. And I'm like,
It's
this is
not
the
worth
worst.
it.
And so the idea of Car Rider was what we had in our head. Was like, we're going to do Car Rider because we can't walk from where we are. So we're like, how are we going to do walking? We can't do that. But I was just like, I'm
Can't
going to
do it.
just park on a side street
And walk them
and
in.
walk to pick them up.
Yep.
And that's what we're going to do now.
I
But
think
like,
that's so much better for all. Like
and
it'll be so
it's
much
been
better for your
like,
anxiety.
it's what we did with it was because it's also difficult because he can't like buckle himself in, but we're not
Right.
allowed to get out of the car. It's like,
Right.
I'm like trying to reach behind me to buckle him in while I'm in. It's like, this is ridiculous. So we're just like, we're not going to do this. We're going to just do that. But like, that was discovered in the situation, like what days we were going to do and all of that. Like, all of that was discovered through the process of doing it.
Mhm.
But we went into it with an open hand, being like, we know that this isn't going to be how it's out, like the final draft of this. But it's a little bit like literally drafting an essay back when 7th grade, where you had to do iterations of it, where you're like, I'm going to, and it's just, this was always the hardest thing for me. And this is still the hardest thing for me with writing, which is like, I don't do drafts. Oftentimes I edit as I go and I like try to find the right wording,
Mhm.
and it slows me down. I can do it verbally. I can do drafts verbally, where I'm like, that's why I like doing the podcast,
Mhm.
because I can figure it out as I'm talking. And I'm like, okay, that wasn't right. Let me try it again. Right. That's why I do talking heads more on my social media than I do written stuff, because a written thing takes me 5 times as long
They are very
as,
well written, though.
I appreciate that. But
You're welcome.
process wise, though, it takes me a lot longer to do
Mhm.
it than I wrote my master's dissertation, my thesis, my colloquium in one shot.
Mhm.
I wrote 33 pages, like, and it was basically my final draft when I wrote it, because that's just, it's just
That's how
how
your
it
brain
built.
works. Mhm.
It's how my brain works with writing, but in certain areas it doesn't. But it's infuriating for me, because it ends up being that I get perfection and I get hung up on, like, I don't know what the word is that I want to use here, and I can't move on past it. So it is a limiting thing in some areas. But like, we want to go into these, like, scheduling wise and all of the and hey, let me try something
Mhm.
with your nutrition or
Mhm.
your workouts or your walking schedule or your meal planning or whatever it is. Like, let's just try it.
Right. Have a plan to try.
Have a plan to try, and
Yep.
then recognize that it's not going to go according to plan. I tell this to my OTM students all the time when they are doing, we do something called a launch relatively early on, where they do like a big kind of push, like a first launch, like, hey, I'm opening up the doors to my coaching program. If you want to join,
Mhm.
here's how you do it. And it's like a 9 days of content. And I tell them all the time, I'm like, this is going to be rough. Things are not going to go well. But this is what we've been doing up to this point, is building for you a plumbing system. And this is us running water through it. There are going to be holes. And afterward, we're going to evaluate where those holes were.
Mhm. how
and
best to patch them.
and how best to patch them and what order we're going to patch them. And then we'll run another launch and we'll see we'll see more holes. And we're constantly iterating on this. And so we ran water through it for 2 weeks and we were like, okay, here are some of the issues, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't really have set aside times to work out. You didn't really have set aside times to work out. We were kind of figuring it out day to day. When are you going to do physical therapy? When are you going to go to the gym? When am I going to go to the, like, who's dropping off who and picking up, and I have this and you have that in the afternoons. Like, how are we going to do this in a way that makes sense? So we came Sunday, we sat down and we were like, okay, what did we observe from the process that we just did? And again, we started with the things that were most important. So Megan was like, hey, when do you want to drop off and when do you want to, I was like, before we do that, what do you want your gym schedule to be? What do I want mine to be? What mornings do you want to be able to do it? So like it was her going to she went to the gym yesterday morning to take a class. And Tuesdays she's going to run, right? Like this is what we're looking at. And it's like, okay, and I'm going to do Monday, was it Friday? Okay, this is how this at least tentatively could work in theory. Now let's piece in, right? Priorities went in first. Then we're like, we'll figure out how drop off goes and pickup goes with that, right? Like, hey, Monday afternoon, I have counseling. So it's got to be you do pickup on Monday afternoon. So that means that I got to do drop off on Monday morning, even though typically it would be the other way around, the way that we're doing the rest of the week. I do Tuesday, Thursday. She does Wednesday, Friday. Like it would make sense that it would be the other way, but okay, it doesn't work that way. So I got to do drop off on Monday. So how does that impact things? Okay. And now we're going to try it. I fully expect that this will not be the final draft. Like the idea that we're going to be doing it exactly the way that we drew it up week 2 in May is silly.
It's insane.
It's silly. But the idea that I'm not going to have a plan that I'm going to try and expect to have issues and then constantly iterate on it is where we get hung up. Because we try to do the perfect thing. And when we can't do the perfect thing or it falls short of being what we expect it to be, then we feel like we're doomed to stay this way forever. We're gonna be failures. We are a failure because we can't do it, or we're stuck and we're a victim to our circumstances. Like I can't do it because we got to do drop off and we got to do pickup, and I'm the only person in the world who's dealing with this, and it's like no, like that's your circumstances. These are my circumstances. But that doesn't mean that I can't try to find a system within which I can be successful. I thought Sunday night that what we came up with was going to work. It didn't. Now, does that mean that right away I write off the whole thing? No.
No, because it has potential of working if some of the other holes have been patched.
100%. So I got to give it 2 things. I have to give it enough time to potentially work. And again, I will say this for me. Said that I wrote this story in one of my posts in the last couple of weeks where I spent $15,000 on mentorships to start my businesses prior to, and I don't know if I talked about it on the podcast.
Yeah, we talked a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. And the idea is like, why didn't they work for me? And it was usually because I would try it once, and when it didn't immediately work, I was like,
that didn't work.
Clearly, the system's rigged. Like they're lying about their hundreds of success stories. Like I am the special snowflake for whom this does not work. Or I would do it a couple of times, and it might have worked, but then as soon as it doesn't work, I'm like, you see, I knew it wouldn't keep working. Lightning in a bottle, and you're just like hacking your way there versus actually having a system. And it wasn't until I kind of let go of the idea that like, oh, I'm actually not the victim here. Like the problem is the dude in the mirror, because I'm not doing it's one of 2 things. And I've said this before, and I said this talking to coaches today about like, how do you care for your clients? I literally did a call about like, how do you care for your clients today with all these coaches? This was the big takeaway. When something's not working, it's one of 2 things. There's only 2 things that are happening. 1, you're not doing the process that you laid out consistently enough to get the results that you're looking for. You're not consistent enough with doing the process. And or two, if you are consistent enough, then what you have set out to do in terms of a process is not good enough to get the outcome that you're looking for. That's it. You're either not doing enough volume or you're not doing it effectively enough, or both. But like, we'll use a real simple thing of like, what is your calorie deficit? Somebody's like, oh, my calorie deficit doesn't work for me. Okay, no, it's not that. It doesn't. But there will people who will say that calorie deficit doesn't work for me. No, it does.
It's
The
science.
reason why you're saying it's not working for you is one of two things. One, you're actually not hitting the calorie deficit number that you are saying that you're hitting with enough consistency to see the results that you're looking for. And I'm not saying you're doing it. I'm not saying you're doing it on purpose, but maybe you're underreporting, or you're not measuring appropriately, or you're not tracking everything, or you're skipping some days, or you're estimating, or whatever it is. So that's, I'm not doing it consistently enough. Or two, let's say that you're measuring everything perfectly, you're tracking every single thing, and everything's right. Then that means that the target that you're hitting isn't actually a calorie deficit for you. That's it. That means you need a different number. You need a different target. That's the game. That's the game. When I talk to students about their businesses and they're like, oh, I'm not making any money. I'm like, okay, well, how many people have you talked to on the phone? Like, how many calls have you had? Well, and they're like, oh, I've had 5 calls. And I'm like, well, how many clients have you got? And they're like, I've had 1 client as a result of 5 calls. I'm like, well, that's
not
just
a
not
great
good
average. It's 20%
that's not good
average.
That's not good enough. So that's an effectiveness issue. Now, the effectiveness could be at any one of the places. Are you getting the right people on the call, right? So that might be, your marketing or your lead warming or your application or whatever it is. Are you getting the right people on the call? It could be how you are on the call. Like, are you asking good questions? Are you understanding the person and their circumstances? Or it might be your offer, that your offer is bad. But like, the problem is in your effectiveness. It's not in your volume. But if I have somebody who's like, I'm not making any money, and I'm like, well, how many calls have you had? And they're like, I've had 1 call. Okay, well, that's the problem. Why are you only getting on 1 call? And we have to go back to, why are they only getting on 1 call? Well, because they haven't posted in 3 weeks and they're not talking to anybody. It's like, okay, well, don't be surprised. Like, people aren't going to just come out of the woodwork and be like, hey, I need help.
Yeah, they don't fall in your lap.
Sometimes they do, but like very rarely does that happen. Because there's a lot of guilt and shame around the fitness thing and people asking for help and all of these kinds of things, like all of that. Oh, it always comes down to volume or effectiveness. And so the way that we solve that's why I'm like, hey, it comes down to the person in the mirror. But we can do that with a couple of things. Am I showing up enough? Am I creating the environment within which I could be successful? Yes. I have created that environment, but I need to give it enough shots. Imagine if I got on 1 call with 1 person and that person decided not to work with me as a coach. And then I said, okay, I guess
I'm done. I guess
this isn't going to work. Imagine if I went on, I talked to the first person that I ever dated and it didn't turn out in marriage. And I say, oh, I guess that, dating isn't going to work and I'm never going to meet anybody. Right. Imagine I went on my first time changing a diaper, my kid peed on me, and I said, I guess I'm not good at this. It's like, no, you just haven't given it enough opportunities. But then if you're doing enough volume, I've done it enough times. Like, if I did this for 3 weeks with the schedule and if I have the next 3 weeks, which is probably the next amount of time that we're going to go before we reevaluate, right? If I go the next 3 weeks and of the 9 opportunities that I have set aside to work out, I work out 4 of them, I've done enough volume. It's not effective. So then I got to figure out, is it a systems issue? Is it an identity issue? Is it both? And then I go for that. If I have 9 opportunities and I work out, I've missed 1, but if I hit 7, I could hit 7 out of the next 8. That's totally reasonable.
It's pretty good.
Or even 6 out of the next 8 and be like, you know what? That one was a little bit of a fluke. Whatever. I'm off to it. Cool. Ideally, I'm shooting for more, but the idea that I'm going to be 100% is ridiculous too. This is realistic expectations. But I have to give it enough volume that it could work and then figure out if I'm effective at it. And then once I'm effective at it, this is the key. This is the key. Once you're effective at it, you've done enough volume to figure out if you're effective, then you get more effective at it. Once you're effective at doing something, do so much volume that it would be unreasonable that you would see the results that you're looking for. Once you find something that works, do so much volume that it would be unreasonable for you to get the results that you're looking for. If I find I'm doing a calorie deficit and I've done it for 2 weeks and I lost an inch or two. Great, that's my calorie deficit. I'm going to do that at that same level of effectiveness for long enough that there is no chance that I don't end up at the place that I'm looking to get to. Once I get people on the call and all of a sudden out of 5 calls, 3 people decide they want to work with me, then I should be getting as many people on calls as I possibly could.
Mm-hmm.
The whole game now is how do I get more people to want to hop on a call with me? Once I figure out a schedule that works for me with my workouts, I just do that as long as is possible for me to get the results that I'm looking for from my workouts, which is stronger and more cardiovascular and more energy and more mobility and less pain and all of these things that I want. I'm going to do that with such tenacity where all my focus now is on the volume.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't pick both. I can't pick both working on the volume and on the effectiveness. I have to have a sole focus. Am I focusing on volume or am I focusing on effectiveness? And once I figure out what my focus is on, that's telling me about the other one. If I'm focusing on volume, that's telling me about the effectiveness. If I'm focusing on effectiveness, that's determining my volume. If I'm doing enough reps of it, then like if I've done it for 6 weeks, that's all the only data that I'm interested in when I'm focusing on, I'm just going to do this for the next 6 weeks is how effective. How many of those did I actually do? I'm going to do this for 6 weeks. How many workouts did I actually do? That's the only data that I'm measuring because my feelings don't matter.
Nope.
The facts matter. Was I effective at it or not? And if I'm not effective at it, then I go back and I say, all right, I need to find another system to be effective at it. Ditch volume. Like, I don't even care how many reps I do. I got to figure out, like, maybe I drop from 3 days a week to 2 days a week. Maybe I just what I'm looking to accomplish in the short term, but I'm like, I got to find something that's more effective. Like, I had a guy the other day who was like, my last 10 calls, only one person signed up. And I'm like, okay, we got to drop your price. Like, after looking at a bunch of things, because he was effective, he had more people signed up. He was at 40 or 50% people signing up when he was at a lower price point. Mm-hmm. I'm like, not much has changed. You're doing the same amount of volume. I mean, maybe some skills have gone, but I don't think that you got just dramatically worse on the call in that period of time. It's just the data's telling you.
That's the variable.
That's the variable. Like, we raised the price and it's not working. So we got to change the thing to make effectiveness work again. Mm-hmm. And then we do volume. Mm-hmm. Once effectiveness is working, now we go back to volume. And I'm just going to do that for as long. Even if I'm doing 2 days a week, even if he's doing less of a price point, he's had one person sign up at a higher price point out of 10 calls. If he had 4 or 5 people sign up at a lower price point, it would have been more money. Mm-hmm. It would have been more clients. It would have been more. And the long-term benefit of more clients is he helps more people. They might refer him people. They stay around for a long time, lifetime value of the client, all of that kind of stuff. Way more beneficial for him to get 4 or 5 out of 10 calls than to get 1 at a higher price point. So now I'm focusing on volume. Even if I'm only getting 2 workouts in a week, but I'm consistently getting 2 workouts in a week, that's better than me going 1 for 3 or occasionally 2 for 3. 2 for 2 feels better than 2 for 3. Mm-hmm. So I got to set up the environment where effectiveness is appropriate. I got to set up the system where effectiveness is appropriate. And so then I always want to ask the question, coming back to it, like, hey, it's the person in the mirror. Are you willing to do this work? And recognize that it's constantly going to be iterating. It's constantly going to be evolving. And the idea that now what the temptation is for me, even as a coach, even as somebody who does this for a living and talks about it, and I'm on this podcast telling you about it, the temptation for me yesterday morning was to be like, woe is me. Mm-hmm. Poor Jeff.
I think a lot of us find ourselves falling into that.
We absolutely do. But the idea that that does nothing. You can throw yourself a pity party and you'll still be right back in that same situation. So it doesn't do talking to me. It doesn't do me any good. It doesn't do you any good to play the victim and be the circumstance. It's like, if the identity that I'm looking to put on, the person I'm looking to become, what will they do? What is their defining factor? And I will be honest with you, after talking to hundreds and probably thousands at this point of people, particularly parents who want to improve their health and their fitness, it's well over 1,000 at this point. The amount of people, you know what? Everybody, what is the universal thing that people want out of their fitness?
Lose weight.
No, that is
Really?
it's not the universal thing. The universal
Longevity?
thing. No. I think the buckets of goals are aesthetics, performance, more energy, and then longevity. And everybody kind of wants all three. And usually
In
people
varying
want,
degrees,
in various degrees. And we can do an episode on that if we wanted to.
Might not be
But
bad.
the idea of what is it that everybody wants when they say it is they want to be the type of person for whom this is what they do. They want to be the type of person where this is just what they do. They take
want
care
to
of themselves.
become the exerciser, the healthy eater.
Yeah, they want to not have to think about it.
Yeah, that would be great.
They want it to be part of their identity.
Mm-hmm.
They want it to just be like, I do this. It's just what I do, independent of circumstances, feelings. It's just what I do. Because they don't want it to be a thing that they do.
Mm-hmm.
Like right now, it's a thing. It's a thing. Like, oh, I got to get myself up to exercise. I got to do, like, you don't think about that with like doing the dishes. Like, it's like, all right, you just do the dishes.
It's
you
just
do the dishes. You bathe your kids. You brush your teeth. Like, you just do these things. It's part of who you are.
Mm-hmm.
It's that identity. And the person who does that, if you are that person is not in the situation where they are trying to will themselves to do it. They are the type of person that's like, if I'm not doing it, I need a better system. And then once I have a better system, I just do it over and over and over again. This is me with laundry, right? This is me with laundry. It's like, why can't I get myself to do the dang laundry? And it's like, okay, it's not a volume issue. It's a systems issue.
You don't want it enough, Jeff. That's what it is.
No, but it's not. I know you were joking. It's not that. It's not that I don't want it bad enough. It's not that I don't yearn for the identity of somebody. It's like, I don't want to have to think about it. I just want it to be done. Mm-hmm. Well, the way to get that done is I have to set myself up with a system within which I can be more effective. Because right now, the system that I have in place isn't effective. And I have enough of a track record, enough of volume to show me it's not working. I have to go back to the thing and be like, look myself in the mirror. It's my fault. I got to come up with something better. I can't bury my head in the sand and think that I'm just going to get better at it. I can't discipline myself into it. I can't try myself into it. I need a better system in place. And then once I'm going to try something. I'm going to try something different. And I don't know if it's going to work, but I'm going to do so much volume that I'm going to know whether or not it works or not.
Mm-hmm.
And if it works, great. If it doesn't work, I'm going to go back there. But I have a new thing that I'm trying. And then if that doesn't work, I don't know yet. Because what's my main focus right now? Volume.
Mm-hmm.
I have a system where it's like every day I'm putting in a load of laundry, I'm changing it over, and I'm folding it at night. It hasn't been super effective yet, but it's been more effective than the previous iterations of it. But I haven't done enough volume yet to know whether or not I'm just too early in it, or it's maybe not the right thing. But I have to do more volume. So all my focus is right now is I just have to stick with this. I just have to keep doing this over and over and over and over and over again until I have the data to know whether or not this is effective or not. And then once I get to a certain point where I'm like, hey, process-wise, I've done it. I've done it with consistency, and it's not working. It's not getting me the outcome I want. Now I got to go back and I got to change the system. I need to change the process because the process is working. I don't have enough data yet to know whether the process works. So the question for you today is, we know the problem is with us. The problem's with us. The question is, do you have a volume issue or do you have a systems issue? Do you have a volume issue or do you have an effectiveness issue? And then whatever the issue is, go to the other one to figure it out. If you have an effectiveness issue, try something different and then focus on volume. If you have a volume issue, try something, establish what your system is, and then do so much volume that you're going to, right? Because the system isn't working. Then focus on the other one and then go after it. And then give it enough time to work. And if it doesn't work, then change. Pivot. Make a move. If you want some help, that's what I do. or go do it yourself. But I'm here to help. Appreciate you listening. Hope it was helpful. Do all the things that you do, like, rate, subscribe, share with a friend, and we'll chat with you next time. This has been the Fit Parent Podcast.
I like that.